Well, hello there. This is Lance. Today we're having a look at this. This is the NYXI Flexi wireless controller for multiple platforms. But first, of course, the unboxing. Right, let's see what's inside here. This almost looks like it's been opened before. We have the controller. Let's see what comes with it. One standard dongle, a to C cable, a how-to, and a spare set of buttons. Actually, I don't think this is a spare set. With this particular one, you can change the layout depending on if you're playing on a Switch or something like that, or PC. And then we have the controller. So I picked up this controller mainly because NYXI is a fairly well-known brand as far as the retro sort of controllers go, and I am always looking for a newer controller, especially one that I can use across devices. This one can, of course, work with Windows, Mac, iOS, Android, and of course Nintendo Switch. I haven't been able to test it with the Nintendo Switch 2 because obviously I don't have mine yet, but it does have the ability to actually change the buttons. So obviously for the Nintendo Switch, as you can see here, it is an Xbox. A, B is in the proper place, and Nintendo obviously switches all these buttons around. But you can do that. So they actually come with a set of buttons exactly for that. And of course, it's going to stay caught up in the manual. So you get a full set of buttons that you can then switch out your keys with for the Nintendo Switch. You can connect it just as such, but obviously the buttons are not going to be in the right place. But you do have the extra set if that's actually what you want to do. It is a bit of a pain switching them out, obviously, but if you're going to be using it predominantly on your Nintendo, well then it's worthwhile doing that. Not only that, but this one will actually, you can flip this magnetic cover here, you can see there, and it just clips off. And now you see the module over here. You can actually just grab it and pull it off, and then swap it around, so that if you're used to having your controllers with both joysticks down the bottom, a la PlayStation 2, I think it was, you can just push this back in there, and now you have your joysticks in that position. And of course, this is also where you'll take off your buttons to replace them. I don't think it actually comes with a tool though. No, there we go. Not too hard to take off and replace with the other ones if you're moving them around. So I thought that was quite a trick. I'm not the type of person that will actually have the controller the other way around. I'm very much used to the Xbox style of controller. But if you do want to, there you go. And I thought that was quite unique, that you can have it both in the old style of the PlayStation, or as you normally would with your Xbox. Then of course there's the cross compatibility. So you can connect it to various devices. I've tested it on the PC, I've tested it on Android, and I've tested it on the Nintendo Switch. And they all seem to work pretty well. I did have a problem connecting it to the Nintendo Switch for the first time. They state in the book that you can actually connect it wirelessly but from what I remember, controllers never really connected properly to the Nintendo Switch unless you plug them in the first time, and then it recognizes it from then on, which I eventually wound up doing, and it worked fine after that, wirelessly. You can of course use the dongle if you want a bit less latency than Bluetooth offers. I use this for the PC, as I'll show you some B-roll here. I was busy messing around on the PC, not that you can see what I was doing, but it does work very well, and there's very little latency with the dongle in it, so you've got yourself a nice little, wireless controller. But this one also has bling. The one thing I do like about this as well is a lot of controllers that come with mappable buttons, like this one does. I'll see at the bottom here, it has 2 mappable buttons at the bottom. The problem with those is that you always have to have a piece of software, and you always have to use the software to actually map the buttons to whatever the case is. And this one, you don't need to do that. You can change the bling, because it's got RGB on the side here, you can change the colors and the style and all that type of thing, all with just using the buttons. So with various button presses, you can change anything, including mapping your buttons. You can also do macros with that same function, so you can map one of these bottom buttons, or any button for that matter, to various things. It also has a way of resetting your mapping, so that if you're like me and play just a little bit too much and map things to what you didn't really want them to map to, you can reset it to the default and start again. As far as the build quality goes, it's a pretty solid feeling device. Everything seemed to work. There was no stick drift. I believe it has Hall effect joysticks and triggers. The buttons and the triggers are all suitably clicky. Let me see if I can give you a bit of a sound test. That's the D-pad. That's the triggers at the bottom. So generally, everything works. The only thing that it doesn't have, which I do occasionally use while I'm playing on the PC, is the facility to shorten the actuation of the actual triggers, so that if you just want a quick sort of head trigger type thing, if you're using a fast-paced game that you need something like that, I do occasionally like to switch that on. Setting turbo mode and all that type of thing, it does have a turbo mode. You can click that, it's easy enough. And you can use mappable buttons, as I said before. I will be keeping this and adding it to my collection because it does work well and it's not too badly priced. So you can get this, the NYXI wireless, the Flexi wireless controller for 50 euros, 51 euros, 50.99 right now. Which is not bad compared to, if you're going to look for anything like a Razer or any of those, you're going to pay over 100 quite easily. And I think for the build quality and all that type of thing, that's pretty good. You can of course use it wired as well, like most of these controllers. If you are running low on battery and that's plugging it in, continue playing is a doable thing. Thank you for watching this very brief review of the NYXI Flexi wireless controller for multiple devices. If you do like this video, or if you found it interesting in any way, please like, subscribe, all those lovely YouTuber things, and I will catch you on the next one. Bye-bye.